Sometimes the biggest turning points in life don't come with noise. They come quietly, in a simple sentence, spoken at the right moment. That night, inside the silent office, Daniel stood there, still trying to process everything Sophia had already shared. Her past, her pain, her truth. And now, it felt like she wasn't done yet. Sophia looked at him calmly and said, "You're probably wondering why I'm telling you all this." Daniel gave a small, honest nod. A little. He wasn't going to pretend. He wasn't going to act smarter than he felt. And maybe that honesty was exactly why he was standing there. Sophia slowly began walking around the room, her heels making soft, controlled sounds against the polished floor. "I observe people carefully," she said. Her tone returned slightly to that CEO authority, but this time, it felt more personal. "In this company, most people want something from me." Daniel listened quietly. "They want to impress me," she continued. "They want promotions, power, approval." She paused for a moment, then added in a slightly colder tone. "Or they want to use me." Those words carried weight. Daniel could feel it. Because he knew she wasn't exaggerating. She stopped walking and stood directly in front of him. Her eyes locked onto his. "But you're different." Daniel frowned slightly, confused. "I'm just a maintenance worker." Sophia smiled faintly. "Exactly." There was something about the way she said it that made it feel deeper than just a compliment. She leaned lightly against her desk, her posture relaxed, but her eyes still focused. "You come in, you do your job, and you leave." Daniel shrugged slightly. "That's what I'm paid to do." Sophia shook her head softly. "No, that's what you choose to do." Daniel didn't respond. Because honestly, he had never thought about it that way. Sophia continued. "You don't try to impress anyone. You don't linger around hoping to be noticed. You don't act differently just because I'm in the room." She paused. "You're the same person, no matter who's watching." Daniel looked down for a second. "I have bigger priorities." Sophia's expression softened immediately. "Yes," she said quietly. "Your daughter." The room fell silent again. But this time, it was a warm silence. Not heavy. Not tense. Just real. Sophia stepped a little closer. "I heard you once," she said. Daniel looked up. "When?" "In the lobby," she replied. "A few days ago." Daniel tried to remember, then it clicked. He had been on a call. With Lily. "You were talking to your daughter," Sophia continued softly. Daniel felt slightly embarrassed. "Oh, yeah." Sophia's voice dropped, almost thoughtful now. "You didn't know anyone was listening?" Daniel shook his head. "No." Sophia smiled gently. "You sounded like a good father." That sentence hit him harder than he expected. Daniel blinked slightly. Out of all the things people could say about him, that was the one thing that mattered most. He didn't care about money. He didn't care about status. But being a good father? That meant everything. "Thank you," he said quietly. Sophia watched him carefully. "You told her not to worry about the broken toy," she continued. Daniel's expression softened as he remembered. "Yeah." "You said you would fix it when you got home," Sophia added. Daniel smiled faintly. "I did." Sophia tilted her head slightly. "And you promised her you'd always be there." Daniel nodded. "I meant it." There was no hesitation in his voice. No doubt. Just truth. Sophia looked at him, and for a moment, her expression changed completely. There was admiration in her eyes. Respect. And something else? Something deeper. "That's rare," she said quietly. Daniel frowned slightly. "What is?" She took a slow breath. "Someone who keeps their promises." The words hung in the air. Daniel didn't respond immediately. Because deep down, he understood what she meant. Sophia wasn't just talking about parenting. She was talking about trust. About loyalty. About people who say one thing and do another. And in that moment, Daniel realized something important. She hadn't just been observing him at work. She had been understanding him. Piece by piece. Without him even knowing. Sophia slowly folded her hands together. Daniel, people like you are rare. Daniel shook his head slightly. I'm not special. Sophia stepped closer. Yes, she said firmly. You are. There was no hesitation in her voice now. No doubt. Only certainty. You don't chase power. You don't fake emotions. You don't pretend to be something you're not. She paused, then said the words that would change everything. You're real. Daniel felt something shift inside him. He had never thought of himself that way. To him, he was just trying to survive. Trying to take care of his daughter. Trying to get through each day. But to Sophia, that simplicity meant something powerful. And then, she said it. The sentence that would completely change his future. Daniel, I want you to work directly for me. He froze. What? Sophia remained calm. I need someone I can trust, she said. Not just in business, but in life. Daniel stared at her, trying to process what he had just heard. I don't think I'm qualified for. She cut him off gently. This isn't about qualifications. Her voice was steady. It's about trust. Daniel shook his head slightly, still overwhelmed. I fix things. That's all I do. Sophia smiled. Exactly. He looked confused again. What do you mean? Sophia took a step closer. You fix things, without being asked twice. Without making excuses. Without expecting recognition. She paused. And right now, my life needs fixing. The words were quiet. But powerful. Daniel felt the weight of them. This wouldn't just be a job, she continued. It would be something more. Daniel's heart started beating faster. He didn't know what she meant exactly. But he could feel it. This was not a normal offer. This was not a normal situation. This was a turning point. A moment where one decision could change everything. He looked at her carefully. Why me? Sophia didn't hesitate this time. Because I trust you. Simple. Clear. Honest. Daniel took a deep breath. His mind was racing. His life, his daughter, his responsibilities. Everything flashed through his head at once. He had always lived a simple life. Safe. Predictable. But this was something else. Something unknown. Something risky. And yet, something that felt strangely right. Sophia watched him closely. I'm not asking for an answer right now, she said softly. Just think about it. Daniel nodded slowly. I will. There was a pause. A quiet moment where neither of them spoke. But everything had already changed. Because from that moment on, Daniel was no longer just a maintenance worker. And Sophia was no longer just a CEO. Something had shifted between them. Something real. Something dangerous. Something that could either build a future or destroy everything they had. And neither of them knew just how far this decision would take them. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for daily new episodes, because what happens next will change everything. Sometimes, one moment is all it takes. One decision. One connection. One rumor. To turn a quiet life into complete chaos. The next morning, everything changed. Daniel woke up early, just like every other day. The small apartment was still quiet. Soft morning light filtered through the thin curtains. Lily was still asleep, hugging her favorite toy. For a moment, everything felt normal. Peaceful. Safe. But that peace was about to be shattered. Daniel picked up his phone. And the moment he unlocked it, his entire world flipped upside down. Dozens of notifications. Messages. Missed calls. Unknown numbers. His heart skipped a beat. What the? He opened the first message. Then the second. Then the third. Each one said the same thing in different words. Bro, are you on the news? Is this really you? Turn on the TV right now. A cold feeling ran through his body. Daniel slowly turned toward the old television in the corner of the room. With slightly shaking hands, he switched it on. And what he saw next made his heart drop. Breaking news flashed across the screen in bold red letters. A reporter stood outside the corporate building where Daniel worked. Behind her, cameras flashed. People gathered. Security guards struggled to control the crowd. And then? Daniel saw it. A photo. Him. Standing in the office lobby, talking to Sophia. The headline below it read, "Billionaire CEO linked to mysterious man, who is he?" Daniel froze. His mind went blank. This isn't real. But it was. The reporter's voice continued. Sources claim that Victoria Hale, one of the most powerful CEOs in the country, has been seen repeatedly interacting with a man identified as a maintenance worker within her company. Daniel felt his chest tighten. They say the relationship may be more than professional. His breathing grew heavier. No, this is wrong. Before he could process anything further. Daddy. Daniel turned quickly. Lily stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes sleepily. What are you watching? Daniel immediately grabbed the remote and turned off the TV. Nothing, princess, he said quickly, forcing a smile. Just news stuff. Lily walked toward him and hugged him gently. You look worried. Daniel closed his eyes for a second. Then smiled again. I'm okay. But he wasn't. Not even close. Meanwhile, across the city, inside a luxurious penthouse office, Sophia Carter stood in complete silence. A large screen in front of her displayed the same breaking news. The same headline. The same image. Her expression remained calm. But her eyes were cold. Her assistant stood nearby, nervous. The media is going crazy. Reporters are already outside the building. Sophia didn't respond immediately. Instead, she picked up her phone and saw the flood of messages. Board members. Investors. Executives. All asking the same question. What is going on? Sophia finally spoke. Call the board. Emergency meeting. Now. Her voice was sharp. Controlled. But beneath that control, there was something dangerous. Back at the apartment, Daniel sat on the couch, staring at his phone. It kept buzzing. Non-stop. Unknown numbers. Journalists. Messages from co-workers. He felt trapped. Exposed. Like his private life had been thrown into the middle of a storm. I didn't do anything, he whispered. But the world didn't care about the truth. The world cared about the story. And the story was just beginning. Later that day, Daniel stepped outside his apartment building. He needed air. He needed to think. But the moment he opened the door, flash! A bright light blinded him. Then another. And another. Daniel. Over here. Are you in a relationship with the CEO? Is it true she's been meeting you privately? Did you use your position to get close to her? Voices shouted from every direction. Cameras pointed at his face. Microphones pushed toward him. Daniel froze. What? How did you? Answer the question, one reporter yelled. Are you involved with Victoria Hale? Daniel's heart pounded. I'm not, this is not what you think. But no one listened. Because they weren't there for answers. They were there for headlines. Across the city, Sophia walked into the boardroom. Every executive was already seated. The tension in the room was heavy. One of the board members spoke immediately. Sophia, we need an explanation. Another added. This situation could damage the company's reputation. A third voice said. The media is already spinning this into a scandal. Sophia slowly walked to the head of the table. Her heels echoed sharply. She placed her hands on the table and looked at each of them. One photo, she said calmly. And suddenly, everyone thinks they know the truth. No one spoke. Because her presence demanded silence. This is not a scandal, she continued. It's speculation. But speculation becomes reality in the public eye, one executive argued. Sophia's eyes hardened. Only if we let it. Back outside. Daniel was still surrounded. Still overwhelmed. Still trying to escape the chaos. Say something, a reporter shouted. Are you using her for money? That question hit him hard. Daniel's expression changed instantly. I would never do that, he said firmly. His voice was louder now. Stronger. But it didn't matter. Because the cameras kept flashing. The questions kept coming. And the truth was getting lost in the noise. That night, the story spread everywhere. Social media exploded. People debated. Judged. Assumed. Some supported him. Others attacked him. But one thing was clear. Daniel's life would never be the same again. And neither would Sophia's. Because once the world starts watching, it never looks away. If you're hooked on this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for daily new episodes. When the world starts watching, it doesn't just watch. It judges. It assumes. It destroys. And for Daniel, the pressure had only just begun. The next morning didn't feel like morning at all. It felt like a storm that never ended. Daniel barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of cameras, heard reporters shouting, felt the weight of questions he didn't know how to answer. His phone was still buzzing non-stop. Messages. Unknown calls. Notifications from apps he didn't even remember installing. He picked it up again, hoping things had calmed down. But they hadn't. They had gotten worse. Headlines filled the screen. Single dad caught in billionaire CEO scandal. Is he using her for money? Secret meetings exposed. Daniel clenched his jaw. This is insane, he whispered. Behind him, a small voice spoke softly. Daddy. He turned quickly. Lily stood there again, holding her little toy, her eyes full of confusion. Why are people talking about you on my teacher's phone? Daniel's heart sank. That question hurt more than anything the media had said. He knelt down in front of her, gently holding her shoulders. Hey, listen to me, princess. His voice softened. Sometimes, people say things that aren't true. Okay? Lily frowned slightly. Like when kids lie at school. Daniel nodded. Exactly like that. She looked at him carefully. But you don't lie. Daniel forced a small smile. No. I don't. She hugged him tightly. I know. For a moment, everything else disappeared. The cameras. The headlines. The chaos. None of it mattered. Because this was his real world. His daughter. His responsibility. His truth. But outside, the world wasn't so kind. Later that day, Daniel had no choice. He had to go to work. He needed the job. He needed stability. But the moment he stepped near the building, he knew it wouldn't be normal. Crowds had gathered outside. Not just a few reporters this time. Dozens. Cameras. Microphones. News vans lined across the street. Flashes exploded the moment they saw him. There he is. Daniel. Over here. Are you dating the CEO? Did she give you special treatment? Are you taking advantage of her? The questions hit him like bullets. Daniel tried to push forward. I'm just here to work, he said firmly. But the crowd didn't move. A microphone was shoved near his face. Did you manipulate her? That question crossed the line. Daniel stopped. His expression changed completely. There was anger now. Real anger. I didn't manipulate anyone, he said, his voice steady but sharp. I work hard. I take care of my daughter. That's it. For a moment, the crowd went quiet. But only for a moment. Because drama sells. And this was gold. Inside the building, things weren't any better. Employees whispered as Daniel walked through the hallway. Some stared. Some avoided eye contact. Others looked at him like he was a stranger. Or worse, a problem. Daniel kept his head down. Focused. Silent. But the pressure. It was everywhere. Meanwhile, Sophia Carter stood in front of a podium. A press conference had been arranged. The media demanded answers. And she was ready to give them. Microphones filled the space in front of her. Cameras pointed directly at her face. Bright lights made the room feel hotter than it was. But her posture? Perfect. Her expression? Unshaken. A reporter spoke first. Ms. Carter, are you involved with the man seen in the leaked photos? Sophia didn't hesitate. Her voice was calm. Controlled. I am aware of the rumors, she said. But rumors do not equal truth. Another reporter jumped in. Then why have you been seen with him multiple times? Sophia's eyes sharpened slightly. I speak with many employees, she replied. That is part of my role. But not like this, someone argued. People say there's something more personal. The room grew louder. Tension rising. But Sophia remained still. Then she said something that shifted the entire atmosphere. My personal life, she said clearly, is not public property. Silence. For a brief moment, no one spoke. Because her words carried power, authority, and truth. Back in the hallway, Daniel watched the press conference on a screen. He saw her standing there. Strong. Composed. Facing the entire world without fear. And for the first time, he understood something. This wasn't just hard for him. It was hard for her too. Maybe even harder. Because she had more to lose. More to protect. More eyes watching her every move. That evening, the city buzzed with opinions. Some people supported Sophia. Others criticized her. Some defended Daniel. Others tore him apart. Social media became a battlefield. And in the middle of it all, two lives were being pulled apart by pressure. Back at home, Daniel sat quietly. Lily was asleep beside him. The apartment felt smaller than ever. Like the walls were closing in. He stared at the floor. Thinking. Questioning. Doubting. Can I really handle this? He whispered to himself. Because this wasn't just about him anymore. It was about his daughter. Her safety. Her peace. Her future. And then? His phone buzzed again. A new message. From Sophia. He hesitated for a second. Then opened it. Only a few words. But powerful enough to change everything again. We need to talk. Tonight. Daniel stared at the screen. His heart began to race again. Because deep down, he knew. This wasn't just a conversation. This was a decision. A turning point. A moment that would decide whether he walks away from all of this, or steps deeper into a world that could either destroy him or change his life forever. Sometimes, the truth doesn't come quietly. It arrives like a storm. Loud. Unavoidable. And powerful enough to change everything. That night, Daniel stood outside the same building that had already turned his life upside down. The city lights flickered around him. Cars passed. People moved. Life continued. But for him, everything felt different. His phone buzzed again. The message still on the screen. We need to talk. Tonight. From Sophia. He took a deep breath and walked inside. The building was quieter than usual. Most employees had already left. The chaos of the day felt distant here. But Daniel knew. The storm wasn't over. Not yet. He reached the top floor. The CEO office. The same place where everything had started to change. He knocked gently. Come in. Her voice was calm. But something about it felt different. Daniel stepped inside. Sophia stood near the window again, looking out over the city. Just like that night. But this time, there was no softness. No hesitation. Only determination. You came, she said without turning. Daniel nodded. You said it was important. She turned slowly. Her expression was serious. Focused. It is. She walked toward him, stopping just a few steps away. For both of us. Daniel crossed his arms slightly. This situation, it's getting out of control. Sophia nodded once. I know. Reporters are everywhere, he continued. My daughter is starting to hear things. That made her pause. Her expression softened slightly. I'm sorry, she said quietly. Daniel shook his head. It's not your fault. But deep down, both of them knew. Things had gone too far. There was a moment of silence. Then Sophia spoke again. I've made a decision. Daniel looked at her carefully. What kind of decision? Sophia took a slow breath. The truth. He frowned slightly. What about it? I'm going to tell it, she said firmly. Daniel blinked. To who? To everyone. The words hit hard. You mean, the media? Yes. Daniel stepped back slightly. That's not a good idea. Sophia didn't move. It's the only idea. He shook his head. No, it's risky. They'll twist everything. They already are. Sophia's eyes locked onto his. They will keep doing it until we take control. Daniel hesitated. He knew she wasn't wrong. But still. This could make things worse, he said. Sophia's voice became stronger. Or it could end it. She walked toward her desk and picked up a tablet. With a single swipe, she turned it toward him. A live stream setup. Press already waiting. The announcement had been scheduled. Daniel's eyes widened. You already planned this? Sophia nodded. Yes. He ran a hand through his hair. Sophia, this isn't just about you. Her expression softened again. I know. It affects my life. My daughter's life. I know, she repeated. Her voice quieter now. That's why I have to do this right. She stepped closer to him. This isn't about defending myself, she said. It's about protecting the truth. Daniel looked into her eyes. And for the first time since all this began, he saw something new. Not just strength. Not just control. But courage. Real courage. The kind that comes when someone decides to stop hiding. What are you going to say? Daniel asked quietly. Sophia paused for a moment. Then answered honestly. The truth. That we're not what they think. That you didn't use me. That I chose to trust you. Daniel's chest tightened slightly. You don't have to defend me, he said. Yes, she replied firmly. I do. The room fell silent again. But this silence felt like the calm before something big. Something final. Minutes later, Sophia stood behind the podium. Cameras were already rolling. The entire city was watching. Maybe even the entire country. Daniel stood off to the side. Watching. Waiting. Hoping. This wouldn't destroy everything. Sophia looked at the cameras. Calm. Focused. Unshaken. And then? She began. I'm aware of the rumors circulating about me. Her voice was clear. Strong. They involve a man named Daniel. Daniel felt his heart pound. The world was hearing his name again. But this time, it was different. Sophia continued. Let me make one thing very clear. Her tone sharpened slightly. He did not approach me for money. He did not manipulate me. He did not take advantage of anything. Every word landed with impact. Every sentence. Cutting through the noise. She paused. Then said something no one expected. I approached him. The room shifted. Reporters looked at each other. Surprised. Confused. Sophia continued. Because he is honest. Because he is a good father. Because he is someone who doesn't pretend. Daniel felt something inside him shift again. This wasn't just defense. This was respect. Real respect. And most importantly, she added, he is someone I trust. The silence in the room became powerful. Not empty, but meaningful. Sophia took one final breath. Then delivered the truth. The rumors you are spreading are not just false. They are harmful. Not only to me, but to an innocent man and his child. Her voice softened slightly. And that is something I will not allow. The press room stayed quiet. Because for the first time, there was nothing left to twist. No confusion. No hidden meaning. Just truth. Back in the office? Daniel watched the screen. His eyes fixed on her. His mind processing everything. She didn't just protect herself. She protected him. His name. His dignity. His life. And in that moment, Daniel realized something powerful. This wasn't just a connection anymore. This wasn't just trust. This was something deeper. Something real. Something that could change both of their lives forever. The broadcast ended. The world would react. People would talk. Some would believe. Some wouldn't. But one thing had changed. The truth was no longer hidden. Sophia stepped down from the podium. She looked toward Daniel. Their eyes met. No words were needed. Because everything had already been said. And as the city lights shimmered outside, one thing became clear. This wasn't the end of the storm. But it was the moment. They chose to face it together. Sometimes, telling the truth isn't enough. Because even when the truth is clear, the world still chooses sides. And not all of them are kind. The morning after Sophia's statement, the city woke up to a new narrative. Some headlines supported her. CEO defends innocent man. Truth behind the viral scandal. But others? They weren't so forgiving. Is this real? Or a carefully planned story? Power protecting power. Daniel stared at his phone, reading every word. No matter what Sophia said, the noise hadn't stopped. It had just changed direction. Back at the office? The tension was worse than before. Employees weren't just whispering now. They were choosing sides. Some looked at Daniel with respect. Others, with suspicion. As if he had done something wrong. As if he didn't belong there anymore. Daniel walked through the hallway slowly. Each step heavier than the last. He reached the maintenance room. But he didn't go inside. Instead, he stood still. Thinking. Questioning. Is this worth it? He whispered to himself. Meanwhile, Sophia sat alone in her office. The same office where she had always been in control. But today? Things felt different. The truth was out. But the consequences were just beginning. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from the board. Emergency review meeting scheduled. She closed her eyes for a second. Of course. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about the company. Its reputation. Its image. And now, her personal life had become a risk. Later that afternoon, Daniel stood outside her office. He hesitated before knocking. But then, he made his decision. Knock. Come in. He stepped inside. Sophia looked up. For a moment, neither spoke. Because both of them knew. This conversation wouldn't be easy. Daniel broke the silence. This isn't working. Sophia's expression changed slightly. What do you mean? He stepped forward. This, everything. The media. The pressure. The attention. He paused. My daughter is being affected. That hit her. Harder than anything else. Sophia stood up slowly. I told the truth, she said quietly. I know, Daniel replied. And I'm grateful for that. He looked at her directly. But it didn't stop anything. The room grew heavy again. Sophia walked toward him. Her voice softer now. So what are you saying? Daniel took a deep breath. I'm saying, maybe I should step away. Silence. Complete silence. Sophia froze. For the first time. She didn't have an immediate answer. Step away, she repeated. Daniel nodded. From the job. From this situation. From all of it. Her eyes searched his face. Trying to understand. Trying to process. Because of the pressure, she asked. Daniel shook his head slightly. No. He paused. Because of what matters most. Sophia already knew the answer. Your daughter. Daniel nodded. Always. There was something about that moment. Something painful. Because for the first time, this wasn't about the world. Or the media. Or the company. This was about a choice. A real one. Between two lives. Sophia turned away slightly. Looking toward the window. The same city. The same lights. But now, everything felt uncertain. Do you want to leave? She asked quietly. Daniel didn't answer immediately. Because the truth was complicated. I don't know, he admitted. That honesty. It hurt more than a lie ever could. Sophia turned back toward him. Her voice calm. But her eyes? Not as strong as before. You said you think about your daughter first, she said. Daniel nodded. I do. She stepped closer. And what about what you want? He hesitated. Because no one had asked him that before. Not like this. Not seriously. What I want doesn't matter, he said quietly. Sophia shook her head. It does. Her voice stronger now. Daniel, you're allowed to want something for yourself. He looked at her. And in that moment, everything became clear. He did want something. Something he hadn't allowed himself to think about. Something dangerous. Something real. He said softly. The word barely above a whisper. But loud enough. Clear enough. Powerful enough. Sophia's breath caught slightly. She didn't expect that. Or maybe she did. But hearing it changed everything. But I can't choose that, Daniel continued. His voice heavier now. Not if it risks my daughter's life being turned upside down. The truth. Raw. Unfiltered. And impossible to ignore. Sophia looked down for a moment. Then back at him. Her voice softer than ever before. And if I asked you to stay? Daniel didn't answer. Because he couldn't. The room felt smaller. The air heavier. The silence louder. This wasn't about feelings anymore. It wasn't about attraction. Or connection. Or even trust. This was about something bigger. Sacrifice. Responsibility. And the cost of choosing one life over another. Sophia took a step back. Creating distance. Not because she wanted to. But because she had to. I won't make that choice for you, she said quietly. Daniel nodded. I know. They stood there. Looking at each other. Two people from completely different worlds. Connected by something real. But pulled apart by everything else. And in that moment, they both understood something important. Love isn't always enough. Not when the world is watching. Not when lives are at stake. Not when the cost is too high. Daniel turned slowly. Walking toward the door. Each step harder than the last. Before he reached it, Sophia spoke one last time. Daniel. He stopped. But didn't turn around. Her voice was quiet. But filled with emotion. If you walk away, I'll understand. A pause. A deep breath. But that doesn't mean it won't matter. Daniel closed his eyes for a second. Then opened the door. And stepped out. Leaving behind a choice. A connection. And a question that neither of them could answer yet. Because sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones where both choices feel right and wrong at the same time. Sometimes the end of a story is not really the end. It's a beginning. A quiet, unexpected, beautiful beginning. That night, after walking out of Sophia's office, Daniel didn't look back. Not because he didn't want to, but because he knew. If he did, he might not be able to leave. The city felt different as he stepped outside. The noise, the lights, the chaos. It all faded into the background. Because inside his mind, there was only one thing. His daughter. Lily. When he reached home, the apartment was quiet. Soft light from a small lamp filled the room. Lily was asleep on the couch. Still holding her toy. Waiting for him. Just like she always did. Daniel slowly walked over. Kneeling beside her. He gently brushed her hair away from her face. I'm here, princess, he whispered. Even in her sleep, she smiled. And in that moment, everything became clear. No matter how complicated life became, no matter how tempting another path might be, this was his world. His purpose. His truth. The next morning, Daniel made his decision. Back at the corporate building, things were still tense. Media presence had reduced slightly, but the impact of the scandal still lingered. Employees whispered less, but they still watched, still judged, still wondered. Daniel walked through the doors. Calm. Focused. Certain. He didn't go to the maintenance room. He didn't pick up his tools. Instead, he went straight to the top floor. The same office. The same door. The same place where everything had changed. He knocked. A pause. Then, "Come in." Sophia stood by the window again. But this time, she didn't turn immediately, as if she already knew why he was there. Daniel stepped inside, closing the door behind him. For a moment, neither spoke, because both of them understood. This was it. The final decision. Sophia finally turned. Her expression calm. But her eyes? Holding something deeper. "Have you made your choice?" she asked quietly. Daniel nodded. "Yes." A small pause. The kind that feels longer than it is. "I'm leaving," he said. The words landed softly, but their impact was heavy. Sophia didn't react immediately. No anger. No surprise. Just acceptance. "I thought you might," she said quietly. Daniel stepped closer. "This isn't because of you," he said. "I hope you know that." Sophia gave a faint smile. "I do." He took a deep breath. "It's because of her." Sophia nodded. "Your daughter." Daniel smiled slightly. "Always." For a moment, there was silence again. But this time, it wasn't painful. It was peaceful. Like two people finally understanding something they couldn't change. "I want to thank you," Sophia said softly. Daniel looked at her. "For what?" "For being real," she replied. "For reminding me that not everyone is pretending. For showing me that trust still exists." Daniel smiled gently. "You didn't need me for that." Sophia shook her head. "Yes, I did." She stepped a little closer. Not too close. Just enough. "You changed something in me," she said quietly. "And I don't think that will ever go away." Daniel felt it too. That connection. That unspoken understanding. "You changed me too," he admitted. Sophia looked at him. And for the first time since all of this began, there was no distance in her eyes. No walls. No fear. Just honesty. "And now?" she asked softly. Daniel took a moment before answering. "Now, I go back to my life." Sophia nodded slowly. "And I stay in mine." Two worlds. Still separate. Still different. But not completely disconnected anymore. Daniel turned toward the door. But this time, he stopped before leaving. "Sophia." She looked up. "If things were different." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Sophia smiled softly. "I know." And that was enough. Daniel opened the door. And walked out. Not as a man running away, but as someone who chose what mattered most. Days passed. Then weeks. The media moved on. The story faded. Another headline replaced it. Another scandal. Another story. Life returned to normal. Daniel continued working. A different job. A quieter place. Less attention. More peace. Lily laughed more again. Smiled more. Slept peacefully. And Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Calm. But some things don't disappear. One afternoon, Daniel took Lily to the park. The sun was warm. Children were playing. Laughter filled the air. Lily ran ahead, chasing bubbles in the wind. Daniel sat on a bench, watching her, smiling. And then he noticed something. A familiar figure? Standing not too far away. Sophia. No cameras. No reporters. No noise. Just her. Simple. Calm. Real. Their eyes met. And for a moment, time slowed down. She walked toward him. Not as a CEO. Not as a powerful figure. But as herself. "Hi," she said softly. Daniel smiled. "Hi." Lily ran back toward him. Then stopped, looking at Sophia curiously. "Daddy, who is she?" Daniel looked at Sophia, then back at his daughter. And for the first time, he didn't hesitate. "She's a friend," he said. Sophia smiled gently. And in that moment, something new began. Not rushed. Not forced. Not complicated. Just real. Because sometimes, love doesn't need power. Or money. Or attention. Sometimes, it just needs time. Trust. And a second chance. If you loved this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories every day, because every ending hides a new beginning, the end.